Hey guys, this is Richard Ortiz with RichSalsa.com, and I got DJ Corwin here. We're at the 2011 Houston Salsa Congress. He's one of the DJs here from Salt Lake City, Utah. This will be the second take on this. We accidentally didn't record this earlier, so
That's
so
okay.
we'll see if the questions come out the same.
Yeah.
But no, one of the first things that I was asking about earlier was just trying to explain the importance of educating yourself in the music
Definitely.
as dancers, and why it's important, or why you think it's important for people to learn more about that. That sort of.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. It's very important to as dancers, to educate even DJs too, because it's very important to educate ourselves in with the music, because I mean I should say within the past 5 years, a lot of music has came out that were hidden in the vaults for many years, and now they're starting to resurface again, whether it be on CD or vinyl, or on on MP3 players and whatnot, what have you. So it's very important for all of us to educate ourselves in the music, because there's so much out there. But it's also very important, Richard, to also educate ourselves in the roots of how the music came into being in the first place, because you got many genres out there that evolved, that made into salsa, from mambo to boogaloo, from son montuno, guaguancó, son, and cha-cha-cha, and etc. So.
Where would you say would be a good place for people to start looking if they wanted to learn more about the music? Obviously, there's going to be some great websites where you can find the music, which you had mentioned, Descarga, and what was the other one?
There's Descarga.com, there's elwatusi.com also. And elwatusi.com they just recently, it came out probably about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. But that's a web page I go to quite often, and because there's always some new stuff coming out all the time on that web page. You can either purchase the whole album in itself, or you can just purchase one song at a time, and then
So they have digital downloads like
yes,
iTunes?
like
There
iTunes and digital download, and whatnot, what have you. And you can also listen to the songs before you purchase them. So I mean, that's a good place to go.
Okay. So, and another thing, we were talking about all the different types of genres. I know Themba is something that has been coming out over the last few years.
Definitely has.
I mean, obviously, like Los Manban and some other groups have been doing it for a while, but recently it's kind of exploded. Are there any great artists, like for someone who's wanting to explore Themba, that you would recommend?
There's Calle Real, that's really good, and there's always the ever so going and keeping you ever strong. David Calzada, La Charanga Habanera, that's really out there, and of course Los Van Van is still going after all these years. But Calle Real is the band that's really picked up Timba a lot, and really taken it by the torch, and grabbed it and really ran with it, and just brought it really into the forefront after all these years of being hidden in obscurity,
Right.
sort of say, So Calle Real is the group right now, and there's also Maraca, that's Orlando Valle, La Maraca, and that's really doing well right now too. So.
I know right now there's a few other artists that from the era in like
Yeah.
the 60s and 70s that are still around. I know we got New Swing Sextet here
Yep.
this weekend. But are there any bands that that still tour that you would recommend to people to check out? Before.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Before,
definitely.
Not to think negatively, but I mean, a lot of our great artists are passing, and
Yes,
there's some highly
and
recommended ones that you.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's ones I recommend. I'd recommend go see Orquesta DJ, and there's an old school group out of there in New York area that in New York City, and and it's one of those that got to kind of kick to the curb, sort of say, when Fania came out. But they put out some good stuff. There's those guys. There's Joe Batan that's playing. And that's playing. Of course, El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico.
Right.
You can't forget those guys. I mean, 48 years in the biz, and they're still going strong after today. And there's also Orlando Marin. Yeah, there's Joey Pastrana that's still going well, and the Harlow brothers, Larry and also Andy. That's really playing, and some of the legends of Fania and are still out there playing
Roberto
as well.
Ruena. He's supposed to be
Roberto
here.
Ruena, yes indeed.
He'll be here in Houston for the Texas Salsa Congress in March. So that'll be a great opportunity for you guys that are in Texas. What about as far as like DJing? Are there certain artists that you typically always have on your playlist?
There are some, Richard. But for me, I kind of like to explore when it comes to me playing music, because there's just so much out there, and there's some good stuff. And so I mean, I don't keep a set artist all the time. So when I spin, but if I were to name some, and I can right now, some that I do play, which is a lot, I play music from Kako, which is another artist that's
Caco Rodriguez,
yeah, Kako, which is another artist that's kind of
to the
forgotten,
curb,
kicked to
right?
the curb a little bit. One of the best, timbaleros to ever live. That kind of was like kind of pushed out to the side. There's him. There's Rafael Cortijo y Subonchi. There's a lot of Roberto Roena. I play a lot of Oscar De Leon, was one of my favorites. Oscar. I mean, for a guy that's almost 70, I mean, he can do a 2-hour set and straight songs and doesn't even. He just wipes the sweat off his brow and just keeps going. And so those are just a few artists that I have in mind when I play.
And you were telling me earlier about some of your goals for this coming year that
Yes.
you were wanting to do.
Yes.
Can you share that a little bit with us?
I can, definitely. I mean, one of the goals that I would like to do this year, living in Salt Lake City, Utah, and the scene in Salt Lake City is growing, pretty much so, and it's growing like a baby. It's going to continue to grow. I would like to give a class on music, and just to kind of give a class on just the roots of it for dancers and aficionados to like to understand where this music really came from, the roots and whatnot have you, being from Africa. And when it came into the Caribbean with all the Puerto Ricanos and the Cubanos and all that and what have you. And just not only teaching about the roots, but I like to give them more information about what artists are out there. I mean, besides the ones that we already know that are popular,
The Fania.
and the Fania, of course, and some of the Salsa Monga, the commercial salsa artists like Victor Manuel and Luis Enrique, Mark Anthony, and what have you. But I want to give people an education about other stuff. I mean, because it's important, because a lot of good groups came out, 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
You were into it 2011, so a lot of those dudes came out in the 50s and what have you. So, I mean, and they got kind of pushed to the side,
Right.
After that happened. And there's just so much out there. And that's what I'd like to do is teach a class, but also I'd like to, DJ possibly in the Caribbean or in Europe somewhere.
And share the music and stuff.
Exactly, definitely.
So, guys, you heard it. If you're doing an event in the Caribbean, DJ Corwin, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Definitely indeed.
And so just something to keep in mind, always, look into the music. The music's always going to have a lot of history behind it. Excuse me. I know a lot of the Fania albums. I personally bought a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And all the ones that have been remastered behind
Yes.
the cover, when you pull it out, there's a lot of history, a lot of different things that are going on that inside the cover that they tell you so much about, like the LeBron brothers. I learned that they kind of got kicked to the curb, even though they were under Fania, just because they didn't want to have I guess a lighter skinned singer.
Yeah.
And so they weren't pushed to the forefront, even though we still know them and they're one of the more popular stars.
Exactly, definitely.
So one of the things that you guys want to do is the places that he was mentioning, check them out, get some EDs, make sure you read, check out in Watusi, and do they have articles on there as well?
Watusi, they do, yes, and they have blogs and what have you. Also on that webpage, they do have some of the top DJs in the world that have their playlists. And their playlists and what have you from songs that they have on that webpage for you to kind of sample and listen to. And some I personally choose from,
Right.
and what have you. I mean, some DJs to mention also. There's a DJ Guri Guri from Canada. There's DJ El Chino, and he's up there in Colombia. There's also DJ Eric B he's from the Netherlands originally, but he's out in Washington D.C. now. And and many other DJs from around the globe that's on there with their playlists and their history about who they are and what have you. And they do have blogs about the artists and whatnot have you that made this music and whatnot have you. So that's something to check out also. And one thing I want to add also, there's another webpage that I go to also. A friend of mine in Colombia, DJ El Chino, and that's solarlatinclub.com. And that's another webpage. And he has so many artists, and a lot of those guys are people underground salsa. I mean, a lot of those are found on you can really find on CDs. They're on vinyl. That's on his webpage, and there's a lot that he has, and it's some really good information as well. So.
Well, as I grow as a dancer, hopefully I'll get to see you in the Caribbean.
Definitely, no doubt about that. And also, quick thing I want to mention also as well, and for you guys out there in the public, it's very important that if you hear a song that you like, and if you know an artist and whatnot have you, go up to your DJs. That's one thing that I love. I love that because when people want to know a song that I played by a certain artist, I'm not afraid to share that music with them because sharing is caring and sharing is given, and that's what keeps the music going and going for generation to generation to generation. It has to be done that way because if you don't share, if you don't give up the knowledge and keep it all to yourself, it's gonna die. So for you as the public aficionados, dancers, like I'm a dancer also myself. So I mean, whenever I hear a song by another fellow DJ that I've never heard before, I go up and ask. It doesn't hurt.
All right. Well, thanks guys for tuning in to richsalsa.com, and I look forward to having some more content for you guys pretty soon.